Hello and welcome to Cycling Weekly's Facebook Live preview of the Critérium du Dauphiné. We've got 8 stages coming up starting this Sunday and arguably one of the most stacked fields of GC contenders we've seen for quite a long time. First things first though, this is Facebook Live, so we do want to know what you guys think. So tell us, who do you think is going to win this race, and most importantly why? How do you think they're going to win it? But you guys, well, sorry, I should introduce us. I'm Vern Pitt. This is Simon Richardson and James Shubshaw. Yeah, close. So what do you guys make of this field?
It's very strong. As ever, this is the mini Tour de France, the classic warm-up race for the big one. And as such, you see all the guys going for it, with the exception of probably Nairo Quintana this year. If you're looking at who's going to win, it's very hard to see past Team Sky. Froome has won 3 out of the last 4 editions. Team Sky have won 5 out of the last 6 editions. This has very much become their race. But, as we were just saying before we came on air, Chris Froome has not won a bike race this year.
No, indeed.
So, yeah, maybe it won't be their year.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing about Froome is that he's actually won this race every single time he's won the Tour de France. So if he doesn't go ahead and win it now, and this will be his first win this year, like you say, if he does, then you have to kind of ask a few questions about what might happen in July.
Yeah, he hasn't looked his sharpest this year, has he? He's obviously been doing all the training on Mount Tidy in Tenerife, but yeah, hasn't really shone in the races, has he? Whereas we were talking, his friend but now rival Richie Porte really has. He's had a steady year, and probably, you know, over week-long stage races, it's he's easily the strongest this year. Wins in Paris-Nice and Romandy.
I don't think it's Paris-Nice. Yeah,
he's had a few wins this year.
Romandy and Down Under.
Down Under, right. Still being talked up as a Grand Tour rider. He's never really managed to hold on for 3 weeks, but over a course of 1 week, he's pretty strong. I think his problem, as affected many Australians in the past, they hit the early season really hard because they've had a winter in Australia and it's their natural summer. So flying in January, and by the time sort of the summer comes around and everyone else has gone up to their level, they're maybe sort of not quite there anymore. So it will be interesting to see how Richie Porte does, but he's definitely going into this weekend as a strong favourite for this race. But we've also got seven tour contenders, we reckon, didn't we?
Yeah.
We've got Contador, Porte, Valverde, Chris Froome, Romain Bardet, Fabio Aru back after his injury that kept him out of the Giro, and we've got Esteban Chavez as well of Orica Scott, who's after having a great Giro and Vuelta last year, he's going for the Tour this year. He's backed up by Britain's Simon Yates and Orica Scott, who's kind of their, I think, second leader.
Yeah, no, I think they're due to sort of share responsibility for that one. Be interesting to see how that kind of works out. Yeah, there's a similar plan for the Tour as well. Chavez hasn't had the best running, I don't think. I think he's been injured a bit.
Yeah. So it's extremely strong field. You've also got Talansky, Bargui, Dan Martin. So a
few outsiders there.
Yeah.
What about Alberto Contador?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Tour de France, obviously a really big goal for Contador this year. He's just difficult to pin down. I mean, he's kind of fairly mercurial, isn't he? He's a bit up and down. I mean, he's capable of taking it to Froome on his good days, and we'll just have to see how he plays out. I mean, the other guy you've got in there is Bardet, who was second last year, second at the Tour last year, wants to win the Tour this year. I mean, he's going to be sort of all guns blazing, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I mean, Contador is consistently top 5 these days, isn't he? And sort of hard to get that win for Contador. He just lacks that edge. I mean, he's the elder statesman out of that group, and he's no longer the fastest. So I don't know how he's going to beat the likes of Froome and even Bardet. But it's close. I was looking at last year's top 10. The top 7 were all within a minute of each other. Adam Yates was 7th at 57 seconds. Froome only won it by 12 seconds from Bardet. So it's not big time differences. So you don't need an awful lot to win this race.
And the other thing you have to ask is, actually, how much does it matter if you don't win this race?
Yeah.
How much relevance does this race have actually to whether you're going to win the Tour de France or not? There used to be a kind of saying that, well, if you win the Critérium Dauphiné, you're not going to win the Tour. But that's kind of changed around in recent years. So yeah, there's a limited amount that you can take from it with regards to Tour, but it's still an interesting gauge of kind of people's rough form.
I think that what's really interesting is just to look at, rather than who wins, it's who looks strongest on the key stages, on the key mountains. So how do people look on the Mont de Chat on stage 6, which is next Friday, I believe. All the mountains are back-ended towards the end of the race, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's really who's looking best on the big climbs, because they might lose it some other way, like Froome did a few years ago to Talansky when he got in a break and got big time gaps. That's going to be interesting. How's Froome looking on the climbs? Can he drop his rivals? It might not lead to the win, but if he can drop them on a big climb, then we know he's going well. And likewise, Contador. So I think that's key. That's the true.
It's more about the performance than the result.
Definitely. Well,
while we're just having this discussion about favourites, can I just bring in a couple of comments from Facebook? Sam Russell says Chris Froome will win even though the Sky lineup is not as strong as before. Let's get into that in a minute. And Steve Adam says it will be an upset. Someone unexpected will win who hasn't won before. Just go to Sam's point there. What do you guys make of the Sky lineup here that's here to support Chris Froome?
Well, it's got a couple of interesting names in there. One, for example, Peter Kennaugh. He's not featured in the Tour de France team the last couple of years, and perhaps he's been given his head this time just to see if he can prove himself for July. There's a couple of guys who will be in the Tour that are missing on this team. Geraint Thomas is another obvious one. So no, this isn't perhaps their strongest lineup, but
it's still a strong team.
It is. They've got some tough names in there.
They got, 4 Brits in there. You got Kennaugh, Rowe and Stannard. Rowe and Stannard typically always make the Tour team. Pete Kennaugh, this is probably his chance to get in the Tour team. You got David Lopez, he'll be in the Tour team, mountain climber. Interestingly, Kwiatkowski didn't go to the Tour last year. You expect wins from him, don't you?
Yeah.
Not him playing a support role, but he has. If you follow Chris Froome on social media, you'll see that Kwiatkowski has been with him training every time they go to Mount Tidy on Tenerife. So he must be targeting a ride at the Tour, no doubt about that. Christian Nees, I think he's almost always in there. Philip Danin's riding, just coming out the Giro. He won't be doing the Tour as well. You'd swap him out with Geraint Thomas, wouldn't you?
He was very strong.
The Tour team.
He was strong at the Giro, though, wasn't he? Yeah.
So obviously they're using that. He's obviously if he's in good shape, he can follow that up. But you wouldn't do the Tour Dauphiné or Giro Tour. Giro Dauphiné Tour would be too much for anyone. So I think it's probably 80% their Tour team. You'd probably bring Kirienka in there for as long efforts on the front as he does. But that's not far off their Tour team. We were saying Wout Powers has been injured after being phenomenal last year at the Tour. That's a big loss for them. But they've got a team easily strong enough to win there, and that's almost their Tour team, I would say. Swap a couple of riders out, add one more.
Can I just sort of defer to Facebook again? John McCabe asked, what about Dan Martin?
Yeah, third last year, about 12 seconds down, I think. 19 seconds down last year. So, Dan has typically, a bit like Richie Porte, have a bad day in a Grand Tour over 3 weeks that will knock him out of sort of genuine contention. But over a week long, he can win this, definitely. There's a one-time trial, 23 kilometres.
That's right. It's probably just short enough for him.
Yeah.
And a lot of the week is made up of very lumpy stages, which could play to his strengths really.
You think he might be able to steal some time maybe on one of those?
Yeah, he's got that punch, hasn't he? Especially on the shorter climbs. A couple of the mountains towards the end of the week, there's a couple of very tough stages in there. He might find it more difficult to stay with the big guns. But I think this could easily be a race for Martin.
Okay. Well, let's get into those stages then. Those first 3 stages, what do you kind of take from those? Is it worth people tuning into those first 3 stages?
Well, always get to see France in the sunshine. Yeah. I think so. A couple of them have got breakaway written all over them. There's not a single flat stage in this race apart from the time trial, so there are There's one sprint on the start list and Arnold on there.
Yeah, he's
Maybe,
not going to have much of a chance. But
no sprints.
Yeah, but those first few stages. I mean, the
so.
first stage, Saint Etienne to Saint Etienne.
Yeah.
I mean,
8 classified climbs.
ridiculous. I mean, it's going to be worth watching, I would say.
Looks like a classics course, that one.
And a circuit
Yeah.
finish at the end there by the looks of it, with a third cat climb that they do 3 times. So yeah, a lot of climbing.
Yeah.
There's 4 climbs the following day, although 3 of them seem to be in one hit. Stage 2 to Arlon.
That's true.
Certainly no GC moves in those first 3 days, I'd say, unless you see some spectacular break in bad weather or something. But I think they'll be sitting in waiting for the time trial on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Which is very flat, definitely favours Froome.
Yeah.
We might see the return of Tony Martin, who we haven't seen for...
That would be nice.
Yeah, is he still riding? Nice to see him get that back to time trial victory. But yeah, that definitely favours Froome. But how much time can he realistically take in 23 kilometres?
It's pretty short, isn't it? So what's that? It's kind of 12, 13 miles. You know, even on your best day, yeah, it's going to be limited.
So it might 22-minute time trial, is it maybe there?
Yeah, probably for those guys. And yeah, you're not going to. It's going to be difficult to take more than a handful of seconds at that level, really. Yeah. So.
Fair play. And then we get into the big mountains. Come those last three stages from 6, 7, and 6, 7, and 8. Starting off with the stage to I'll try and say this, Le Mont Cervelex.
Yes, that's a new one on me, I've got to say.
Over Mont de Chat.
Interesting names, yeah. Mont de Chat, that's going to be one that actually features in the Tour this year. So a lot of those guys will, if they haven't already done a little bit of recon, then they'll be looking at that quite closely.
It looks tough, that one, doesn't it? It's only 1,500 metres at the summit, but it's an HC climb, 8.7 kilometres, average of 10.3%, but it's got sections of 14 and 15%. It's quite vicious sections on that climb, so that will be interesting. It doesn't finish at the top though, they've got a descent to the finish, about a 14k descent to the finish. So looking forward to seeing that one.
It's just worth noting as well that just before the climb, Mont de Chat starts, you've got a 4th cat climb right at the very foot of it, so that's going to tee things up and just add to the difficulty, really.
Do you think that they're going to... Do you sense it'll be the kind of thing that will be raced hard, or... Because a lot of these guys may not have ridden this climb before, or certainly may not have raced it before, because it hasn't been in many... It's been in the Tour once in '74.
I think it will be, because it's only a 147k stage, so I think they won't be too tired by the time they get to it. That's a fairly short stage for these guys, I'd suggest. So
and they would have
race it.
Previous 5 stages, a lot of those guys, would have been biding their time. Probably a big stage like this, they'll look to have a hit out. But like you say, Simon, it's 147 k's, and it's one of a couple of quite short stages in this race, and in fact the very last stage is only 115 kilometres long,
isn't it?
So it could make for some really quite interesting racing.
So that's about 68-70 miles, isn't it? That's not much at all. But yeah, finishes at the top of the Plateau de Solaison, which is getting new on me. Horse category climb.
We talk about stage 8 here,
yeah. Leapt ahead to stage 8 briefly, but yeah, should see fireworks on that one because it's so short. I mean, that's less than 3 hours for those guys, I'd say, 115k quite comfortably. So I wouldn't be surprised. There could be an ambush on that stage.
It's certainly...
Because you got a first, second, first category climb, the Aravis, Colombier, which they're all... Col de Saisies, Aravis and the Colombier, which they're all known from the Tour de France. They're regulars in that race.
Big climbs.
So I imagine that there could be some fireworks there because everyone knows it's the last stage and it's so short. It was less than 3 hours of racing, and hopefully they'll go for it. So that could be a lot of fun there.
Yeah, certainly. That last stage is going to have an big effect on GC, and as Lenny Kravitz said, it's not going to be over till it's over for this race.
Before the day before though.
But about saying before we get to
talk about that,
we've got to do this slightly backwards way up Alpe d'Huez, haven't we?
Almost a descent to the finish at Alpe d'Huez on this one. So they're going over the Col de Sirène, which people might remember from the Tour a few years back when they did Alpe d'Huez twice. Up Alpe d'Huez, over the Col de Sirène, which is a little known col out the back of Alpe d'Huez. I think that was a day when Froome got dock some time for taking food
That was
off of
the
Richie
gel
Port.
incident, wasn't it?
When they went up outdoors the second time, and Froome was in trouble and had to take some food when he was in the last few K. He wasn't allowed to. But they're going up the other way up the Col de Suresnes, and then I'm not sure how they're getting down to Alpe d'Huez.
Well, it sort of rolls over, I believe.
Over, up,
looking at
down a
profile.
bit and back up. So I'm not sure of their way into Alpe d'Huez, but be interesting. But that's
So
a big climb.
it does. Apparently, it does the last 4 kilometres of Alpe d'Huez as it
Okay.
normally does.
Okay.
So it breaks onto the climb, and then you've got the 4K to the
Okay.
top. As
Right.
So they'll come,
you'll
yeah, 'cause
recognise.
there's a back road into Alpe d'Huez that at the Tour de France they usually park all the buses and the lorries. It's kind of a service road almost. It's not hairpinned. It's a pretty ugly road. So I imagine they're coming down that. You come out at about 4K to go, and then back up the last few hairpins of Alpe d'Huez maybe. That'd be fun. That'd be a good finish there. Yeah. So 3 really good stages to finish the race there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Don't miss those.
And if I was to kind of ask you to put your money on, then who's going to come out best on the whole race? So on the whole race.
I think for me, it's hard to see past Froome. It's a kind of fairly predictable answer, but at the same time, a lot's riding on this race. Yeah, like we've said, he hasn't won a race this year. You have to go back to 2012 to find a year where he hasn't already won a week-long stage race at this point. So I think this is probably quite important for him, even just sort of psychologically. So I imagine he'll be going all out for it.
Okay.
I think I might. I don't know. I'm tempted to go with Richie Port. If he's held on to his form, I can't see Contador winning. He'll be top 5, I'm sure. But I just can't see him making that. One.
This last stage, though, this is classic Contador territory.
It is, yeah.
Okay.
And I do think there'll be an ambush on that last stage. I think I'll go Richie Port just because it's a week-long stage race and he's very good at those.
Well,
but yeah, it would be really interesting, I think, to see Froome go into the Tour without a win under his belt. Yeah, I think that
bit more
would
pressure.
really, which will keep it interesting, I think.
Yeah, that definitely would keep it interesting. I'm going to go a little left of centre. I'm going to say Romain Bardet.
Oh,
yeah, I think he just continuously, incrementally has been improving year after year.
Yeah.
I think this could be his year to really kind of break through, and I think it would do his confidence no end of good to win this race on the going to the Tour. Although that will send the
French win.
I'm about to say they will send the French media completely mental come the start of the Tour, mind. But also, I found out looking at it that the Mont de Chat apparently, although I haven't been able to verify this, isn't very far from the AG2R service course. So I'm going to say he's going to win that stage and go on to win the whole thing.
Right.
I think that's a fair prediction. I mean, we have seen quite a few French kind of nearly men over the last few years, but I think Bardet is perhaps in a different mould.
Yeah, big interview with him in next week's Cycling Weekly. Of course,
big interview in CW,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talking about his Tour chances. So, yeah, that's a good pick.
Indeed. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks for joining us for this. Best of luck watching the racing, and we'll see you for the Tour de France.
Or Tour de Suisse, maybe.
Tour de Suisse, maybe, yeah. Okay.
We'll let you know.